Jim Basile,
Here.
Andy Dennison,
Present.
Lydia Patty Ruffini,
Here.
Chris Petrus is excused, Aileen McNabb Coleman,
Present.
Bob Shay,
Here.
Hans Petcher,
Here.
Mark Strong,
Here.
Heidi Nightingale, present. Elaine Daly is excused, Tricia Kerr,
Here.
Christina Calarco,
Here.
Michael Didio,
Here.
Brian Muldrow,
Here.
Dave Gould.
Here. Okay, can we all stand for the pledge, please? After the pledge, a moment of silence for our sincere condolences to the families and friends of William Darmody, beloved father of Diane Ferris, our Human Resource Civil Service Director. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Diane here? She left. Okay. All right, thank you everyone for that. Public hearing. Let's open the public hearing at 5:32. Anybody with public hearing wish to call is 315-294-8051. It's regarding to adopt a local law to opt out of the exception from the taxation for certain renewable energy systems under real property tax section 487 with the county of Cayuga. So that'll stay open for at least an hour. And right in the proclamations, Heidi, would you like to make the first proclamation for Eileen O'Connor? Deanna, would you come up too, please? We all know that Elaine couldn't be here, so Heidi's going to do that. Thank you very much. Eileen couldn't be here either, so she apologized.
Eileen O'Connor Day in Cayuga County, July 25th, 2023. Whereas in our democratic society, it is important civic responsibility and a great honor for any governmental body to grant public recognition, admiration, and gratitude to these very citizens who have helped to build this community, ensured its public safety, and influenced the future of its citizens. And whereas Eileen O'Connor, PE, is an unwaveringly dedicated and esteemed civil servant for Cayuga County, serving as the Director of Environmental Health Services for 30 years. And whereas Eileen O'Connor, PE, is a true public health professional working to protect health and prevent disease for all county residents in an equitable manner through her leadership, technical expertise, analysis, and comprehension of formidable regulations with pragmatic implementation while maintaining respect and compassion toward all. And whereas Eileen O'Connor, PE, amongst her various duties, has always been a staunch advocate for protection of our waterbeds, in particular, the protection of Owasco Lake, which provides water to over half of the county population. And whereas in the course of her employment, Eileen O'Connor, PE, has been integrally involved in the public health response to emergencies to help address human needs and provide technical assistance to cease the continuance of said emergencies, such as the underground water contamination by volatile or organic chemicals, identification of cyanotoxins in Owasco Lake, response to COVID-19, and whereas Eileen O'Connell, PE's knowledge, professionalism, and collegiality are an example to all and will be most sincerely missed by her colleagues and the community upon her retirement from service at Cayuga County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that David C. Gould, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, and fellow legislators do hereby proclaim and our gratitude and urge the residents of Cayuga to join with us in recognizing Eileen O'Connor Day, July 25th, 2023.
Not be here last minute, but she did want to express her sincere gratitude and appreciation for this acknowledgement upon her 30 years of service. So thank you on behalf of Eileen.
Gotta make sure you give her our best, will you?
I will.
30, I think it's 34 years she was here. It's a long time to work in one place. So tell her congratulations. We appreciate it. And she will be missed. Thank you very much. Okay, next presentation. Diane Edsett is here. I saw her. Diane, would you like to come up? Brittany's coming up, the DA, and Mark's the legislator that's going to read the proclamation.
Congratulations. How are you? On this day, on this 25th day of July, 2023 in Cayuga County, whereas in our democratic society it is important civic responsibility and a great honor for any governmental body to grant public recognition, admiration, and gratitude to the very citizens who have helped build this community, ensure its public safety, and influence the future of its citizens. And whereas we here today to express special recognition to Diana M. Edsett and to honor her for her distinguished 34-year career with the Cayuga County District Attorney's Office. Whereas Diane began her career on May 1st, 1989 as the Cayuga County's first stop DWI prosecutor under District Attorney Paul A. Carbonaro, and whereas Diane continued her career with the District Attorney James B. Vargason from January 1, 1992, December 31st, 2007. District Attorney John E. Budelman from January 1, 2008 through December 31st, 2021, and District Attorney Brittany Rome Antonacci from January 1, 2022, May 6, 2023, and whereas Diane worked continuously for the betterment of the citizens of Cayuga County, and whereas the Cayuga County Legislature wishes to express its sincere appreciation to Diane for her commitment to the rights and protection of victims of crime, and whereas this proclamation is presented to Diane to serve as a reminder that although she is retiring, she will always be remembered as a valued employee whose hard work and dedication made a difference in the lives of those who serve now. Therefore, be it resolved that David S. Gould, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, and the fellow legislators do hereby present this proclamation to Diane M. Edsett as testimonial to the faithful and dedicated services which she has performed for the past 34 years, and we urge the residents of our county to join us in recognition, Diana, with our gratitude and best wishes for continued success, happiness in the future.
Just want to thank everybody in the DA's office and the staff president, without whom I couldn't have done my work. And also thank all of the all the law enforcement agencies and officers and investigators, without whom, as assistant district attorney, could never have done my job without the good work that our law enforcement agencies all do.
I've known so long, I can't even remember when I first met her, but I was in the state police when Diane started her job as ADA, and it's continued for 34 years. So congratulations. We wish you hadn't retired, but you deserve it and enjoy it very much. Great job. Thank you. Okay, the third proclamation will be United Way of Caring in Cayuga County, Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. Whereas the United Way of Cayuga County, let me have them come up first. Catherine and Julissa, can you just go up and stand in front, please? Catherine is the executive director of the United Way, and Julissa is her right-hand lady. So, all right, whereas the United Way of Cayuga County is once again bringing the community together for the third annual Day of Caring, where volunteers tackle either a half-day or day-long project to further the missions and program opportunities of Cayuga County non-for-profits and community centers in the villages of Fairhaven, Weedsport, Union Springs, Poplar Ridge, Aurora, and the city of Auburn. And whereas 14 projects have been registered between the American Red Cross, Hillside Family Agencies, Fairhaven Public Library, Catholic Charities of the Finger Lakes, Camp Gasper Gregory, Transportation Project of Cayuga County, Unity House of Cayuga County, Chapel House Homeless Shelter, New York Statewide Senior Action Council, Southern Cayuga Instant Aid, Healing Arts Center, the Salvation Army, Arise, and the City of Auburn Youth Recreation Summer Program. And whereas the United Way of Cayuga County and American Red Cross have partnered to host their second annual Day of Caring blood drive at Cayuga Community College between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m. on August 3rd to help meet the critical blood need of our community and nation we are facing. And whereas more than 150 volunteers from across Cayuga County and our local businesses are coming together to tackle projects ranging from landscaping, book review and removal, building a pergola, deep cleaning vehicles, repairing outdoor stairs, filling giveaway bags for upcoming events, installing a fence, food preparation, assembling an accessibility ramp, and park cleanup. And whereas the United Way of Cayuga County is launching its 6th annual countywide personal care drive on August 3rd with community drop-off sites available in the villages of Fairhaven, Cato, Port Byron, Weedsport, Union Springs, Aurora, King Ferry, Moravia, as well as the city of Auburn through Tuesday, October 10th to collect hygiene items for distribution to Cayuga County soup kitchens, pantries, and homeless shelters in partnership with the Food Providers Network. And whereas the 3rd annual Day of Caring and 6th annual countywide personal care drive are tangible examples of the United Way of Cayuga County's mission to mobilize the caring power of our community through the donation of time, talents, hygiene items, and dollars. Now, therefore, it be resolved that I, Dave Gould, Chairman of the Cayuga County Legislature, and my fellow legislators do hereby proclaim Thursday, August 3rd to be United Way Day of Caring in Cayuga County and urge all Cayuga County residents, businesses, and organizations to lend a hand and help a neighbor. So. Very much, Melissa. Thank you so very much. I was on the committee that hired Catherine. We couldn't have made a better choice. She zoomed in from Hawaii. Her husband was in the service. This is 2 or 3 years ago. We interviewed you for probably half hour and you stood out, and we're so glad we picked you. You're doing a great job. Jalissa's doing a great job. So would either one of you or both of you like to say something?
Thank you for this recognition and for all the support. Truly from north to south of the county, we're actually up to over 200 volunteers for next Thursday now and 15 projects. So with a county team. So thank you for the support, and it's just a pleasure to serve.
Jalissa?
And just wanted to thank everyone again, and we're looking forward. This is our 6th annual countywide personal care drive, and it's really only possible with all of the county being a part of it. So thank you to all of you for helping us promote it and being a part of it.
I was on a United Way board for at least a dozen years and president for a few years, and it is one of my definitely best, boards that I've ever been on. It's so caring. The people who work there, volunteer there are so caring. So I want to thank the team, the Cayuga County team. I think we're up to like 15 with that, aren't we? Or more?
Something like that. We'll get the list.
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Sarah's been leading that project, but
Yeah,
thank you
yeah.
for all the county people that are volunteering to work on the 3rd. And again, thank you both very much for what you do for everybody that needs that help. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Okay, continuing presentations, none. That's the first time in a long time. Privilege of the floor. Is John here yet, Patterson? Not here yet?
He's gonna make it.
All right, Dan wants to say a few words for John Patterson. Please, Dan.
Yeah, so John Patterson, president of the County Farm Bureau, was gonna try to be here, but I think he's trying to get a little field work in before we get the next set of rain showers here sometime tomorrow. Just want to extend an invitation again to come to the 4-H Youth Fair, which will be the August 4th and 5th at Union Springs Fire Department. Friday evening, we'll be having our poultry show and showmanship for dairy cattle. And then Friday, we get our rabbits, sheep, beef cattle, swine, our larger dairy show. There'll be a market auction in the afternoon, and wanted to extend a special invitation to any legislators who can attend around 12:30, 1 o'clock, who'd like an opportunity to work with one of our youth and show one of their animals and lead them around the ring. We'll also have a chicken barbecue that afternoon. So if anybody hasn't let us know that you're coming, please do so. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave, very much.
Thank you.
I know I sent an email out probably 2 weeks ago now when John sent me, or John, I don't know, with John or Dan, but both of them, I think, sent me an email. But anybody that can make it that day, any of the legislators would be very much appreciated. So, and certainly anybody else. Okay, minutes to approve, June 6th and June 27th. Motion?
Move it, Mark.
Second.
Second, Andy, any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? Passed. Communications and announcements, I see none. CCC report, I know Dr. Duran's here. Dr. Duran?
Good evening, everyone. Good to be with you. Hope everyone's having a wonderful summer. Tonight before you for business is two items, two very important. One of them is the 2023-24 operating budget for Community College. We certainly, ask for your support. We think the budget is a responsible one, is one that does represent an overall increase year over year of about 2.5%. And I think if I recall, in the 8 years of constructive budgets here, it might be the first one in which we've had an increase. As a reminder for the legislature, in 2015, the operating budget of the college, although had more enrollment, was 31-point-something million. And what stands before you today is 26.2. So I think we've done a great deal of work with the leadership of our trustees. Tonight with me is Trustee Mark Coleman. Thank you for being here. And we ask you for your support. We are asking for an increase of 1.5% for the county of operating support. That nets out to be approximately $49,000. So again, we'll ask you to support. This budget has been approved and endorsed by our President's Council. It's been certainly recommended by me to our Board of Trustees and approved by our trustees tonight. Also in front of you is a successor agreement with our Faculty Association for a multi-year agreement. With me today, actually they're not with me, but they came, so thank you, is two of our leaders of our Faculty Association, and that is Professor Eric Ziza, who's the president of the association, and Professor Steve Keeler. And I will say that the process for the negotiations for the successor agreement is one that I think is, and the fact that they're here today, I think it shows great symbolism of our commitment to open and direct dialogue. We're very proud that we're able to have an agreement in front of you that our Board of Trustees have approved. That it is, I think it's at least the third one in a row that we've been able to settle and get accomplished on time. And the way we're able to do that, honestly, is by consistently being within the work, being focused on the current financial states of the college, the ambitions of the institution, and being able to understand and show the respect for our labor and the respect for our faculty. And I certainly ask you for your support. And publicly, I want to just take a moment and thank both Eric and Steve for their leadership. They do a tremendous job advocating for our faculty association, advocating for the members of our faculty. And over the last 8 years, I certainly have appreciated their commitment to the institution and our ability to work together on tough issues and to be able to always have the common ground of understanding each other, hearing each other, and working well. So I know our faculty are in great hands when it comes to their representation of the association. Appreciate your leadership. I also want to take a moment in celebration, you will not love this, of Professor Steve Keeler, who will be retiring from the institution in, I think, the next week or two. And I believe I was just told by Eric, it's 36 plus years of service to the institution. He served as a division chair. He served as director of our telecom department. And he has been a leader in our faculty association for decades. And it's, you know, one of the first people I met when I arrived in Cayuga County years ago. And it was very, very clear early on the type of passion, commitment, not only does he have for the institution for his colleagues, but the type of commitment that he has for the institution, the standard for his program. And I just want to be able to say to the legislature, certainly on behalf of our trustees and the rest of our college community, congratulations to you, Steve. We wish you nothing but the best, and thank you for all your service to the institution and certainly to all the students that you've been able to educate and support along the years. Thank you, Steve. In addition to that, the college continues to be in its goal-setting stage for the 2023-24 academic year, working on the implementation focus of the college's new strategic plan. And probably in September, I'll speak a little bit to what we're going to be highlighting, working on later on this week. We're not having a board of trustee meeting this month because we're going to be focused on a planning meeting to be able to chart out this year's ambitions, and we'll be able to talk about the progress that we've made in the last year. Most visible progress we're making is certainly on the capital project on Grand Avenue, building hopefully formally known soon as the Cornell Cooperative Extension Building and known as the Workforce Development Center for our community. I will spare you my routine passion on the project this evening, but it will come back soon. But to be able to tell you that hopefully as you're driving down the road and you look over, you can admire the progress that's being made, because it really is transforming, and hopefully we'll be able to remember where it started, where to go. It's a $4 million project, and it's one that we think will give us the physical infrastructure to match the programmatic ambitions that I believe we can have as a community as we. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for the president? Andy?
What are you looking at for fall enrollment?
So well, right now we're on pace to be slightly under where we were this past year for fall. However, we exceeded our 2022-23 enrollment by over 100 FTE. And I think as of last look yesterday, we're something like within 0.5% of where we were a year ago in enrollment. So for us to be able to have a year where it's essentially a flat enrollment and exceeding our budgeted enrollment expectations so significantly, that has been a refreshing moment for us and where we're looking to go. As we're looking ahead in this fall, though, we have seen a steady sense of applications. We're really trying to also look at some of our programmatic recruitment, particularly our educational opportunity program, and trying to make sure that we're getting students enrolled in that as quickly as we can. But for the most part, we're happy that we were able to exceed it this year. We increased our goal for next year already and believe we're already on pace for it.
What is the goal?
The goal within the budget itself is 1585. This year, I think as of this morning, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of 1640. But when we created the budget back, the original assumptions back in the budget, our original starting point is our current year was 1530 or 35. So we knew we exceeded that and we adjusted it up, but trying to be realistically conservative as we look ahead. The focus on our efforts to really stabilize enrollment in the next couple of years is to try to increase our retention rates and persistence rates, understanding that, you know, if we can set more students up to complete their degrees on time to continually enroll with us at a higher rate than we were during the COVID sort of sense of enrollment, that puts us in a great position to help stabilize the declining demographics of local schools.
Is that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my concern, is the fact that the demographics keep showing population in our schools, local schools, going down. We're gonna need to pull. I mean, when I started, I think you guys were 2,600. So we've lost over 1,000 in 8 years, roughly.
There's been a few phenomenons that the college has experienced.
But you're not the only one.
Huh?
You're not the only one.
Well, no, I mean, across the state, every college is down significantly. I think there's been regional articles in the newspapers in Buffalo and Rochester that are talking about 30+ % declines just in the last 5 years. Forget the years before that. You know, it's something that I think is a significant one to watch. I can't speak with some of you know better than I, so I'm sorry if I'm not accurate in this, but I believe this year's graduating class, say, for example, in Auburn Large School District was something about 270 students. Those of you who have been part of this community for a lot longer, I think not in the too distant memory, graduating classes may have been well over 500 or 600. For us as a college, if you go back 25, 30 years ago, and you go to today, we routinely capture about 30% of the graduating class. Well, simple math suggests that that predictor of about 30% is a great stronghold that we have, and we're proud of it. But if the starting number has been reduced by 50%, your yield and net number of students is dramatically in the decline. So, and that's just one district. It's many. I'm not picking on Auburn, but it's the largest one in our Cayuga County school districts, and it certainly is the one that's most near to many of you in the room.
Any other questions for Dr. Durant? Yes.
Heidi Nightingale, I just wondered right now what your ratio of online classes to in-person classes are.
Love our division chairs, two of them over there to speak to that. No, so the college has been working with the leadership of they are two of our chairs, working with our faculty leaders. We're looking to bring a higher percentage back on campus. So if you remember, right, pre-pandemic, we had a significant number of courses enrolled on the Auburn campus and in our Fulton campus, as well as online. What's interesting about the data, though, is that a significant number of our enrollment, a percentage of our FTEs, is generated online. But within that population, a high percentage were taking at least a portion of their courses in person. So one of the things that we've done since then is try to meet students where they're at, maximize our human resources talent, and also to be able to be good stewards of our finances. We've tried to look at high flex courses, which means a student could be in person or could be potentially, or could be online. We're looking at our hybrids, the way they offer them. We've also brought back trying to figure out the interactive videos, which provides a synchronous option that may or may not be in person. So the percentage of courses that we offer in person, it's dramatically up this fall than it was 2 years ago. I'll have to give you a more concrete number because the way that we now code them is anything that has the opportunity for flexibility is actually captured more in our online data. So we'll be able to give a better report once we kick off the semester. But I'll get back to you on that. Our goal was to be able to make sure that we're providing, an ideal world, about 50+% of our course options online.
Thank you.
Our enrollment interest sometimes doesn't match that. And that's one of the conversations we're having internally, as you know.
Good question, Molly. Good question. Anybody else have anything?
Should we ask him about the NASA so he doesn't miss Tim?
Yes.
Never mind.
Yes.
I would love to answer the question related to, I'm assuming you're talking about IAGT and as.
I was just joking.
Oh, I got
Who wants the?
She's a trustee. She knows. IGT continues to be in a spot where, to be completely honest, it's been a spot that's been dormant for a number of years. As the college president, it is not an operation of the college, as I've said many a moments. But I happen to be a member who's on the board of the IAGT. And I can tell you that it has been advised of us to make sure that everything gets reviewed from the past finances of the IAGT and to be able to make sure that it is follows all the legal process necessary to make sure that it's that its legal status matches its current activities. And with that, I'll leave it.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Dr. Durant,
Thank
for
you
your tenure
I
and
appreciate in advance your support tonight.
doing a great job. I appreciate it. We've become good friends and I appreciate that. Thank you for coming, professors, and Steve, congratulations on your upcoming retirement. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I don't know what it's like, but I'm sure you'll enjoy it. Okay, department report. Shireen, please.
Good evening, everyone. I did submit my report in writing, so you had a chance to review it prior to today. Just would like to review just a couple things. I won't go through each and every detail. This is for the period of June 1st through today. But first of all, one of the first categories on the report is operational responsibilities. And I do communicate with the staff consistently as well as the new hires. And one of the important areas for operational is the two-way communication and keeping that going. So we've had new hires in management positions. So I do work on trying to make sure that that two-way communication is consistent, and it helps fill in some of the gaps of, some of the resources that you need, or training or office supplies, or just basically just to see how they're doing in their new positions. Another area for operational is the continuous collaboration with HR every day. I'm sure Diane, I don't think she's sick of me, but she sees me a lot. There's a lot with operations with HR that I have to meet with her on, and we continuously do that. Along with operations, there's the policy and plan reviews. There's always policies being reviewed. I have listed out some of the new ones as well as some of the revised ones that have taken place. One thing I just wanted to highlight was in regards to the compliance plan. We were working on my last report. I told you we were working on with the covered departments, mental health and public health, and some standardized procedures. And we were able to finalize 3 of them relating to auditing and monitoring, the billing errors, overpayments, self-disclosure, how to handle those, reporting and investigation of the compliance concerns. We do have another compliance meeting scheduled in September, and we're currently working on an annualized work plan. So every year, each covered department will work on specific areas that relate to compliance. And we're also trying to finalize the training content for the compliance plan, so that the training for each covered department as well as everyone involved gets the same training every year. So that's a good thing to be done. Another plan that we are continuing to work on is the emergency action plans. We do have a work group that works on that. So we're hopefully seeing that to completion maybe sometime within August, maybe the beginning of September. Another part of the report I just wanted to highlight is the legislative support. There are several committees that you'll see in the report that I assist with, as well as the meetings that I attend. One to bring to your attention is a small business grant committee. We have finalized round 2. We are in the process of notifying the awardees as well as dispersing their payments. Brian Muldrow, legislator Brian Muldrow, will be providing you a report of that round 2 in just a few minutes. Also, the work continues with the Micron, the Business Steering Committee, which is geared towards our preparedness for Micron, as well as the building renovation project. And then, of course, now we do have some work moving forward, architect plans for the renovations of the courts. Another portion of the report that I provide is the category of employee relations. Department head meetings are continual, monthly. We're still continuing on with our roundtable discussions, working together on solving some concerns, or just trying to work together on improving areas in our departments as well as our team. As well as the employee recognition program, Cayuga Gold, we were able to present another award for Cayuga Gold recognition, and it was to our county office building security staff. They do a great job, and they were recognized for that recently. If you did not see, that is also posted on our digital bulletin boards that IT has provided us. So it's very nice. We're very excited about that. And lastly is the financial function that I'm involved in, indirectly or directly. One part is the shared services plan that we do every year. Lynn and I have started initiating that process where we've communicated with municipalities on thinking about some options for the plan, way to save money. Of course, I am working with the finance department on some departmental vacancies. And we recently were able to sit in on a webinar, and I say we, the department heads, that was provided by or set up by Amanda O'Grady, our new director of purchasing, which is really nice because that again allows us to purchase items and at a contract pricing and allows us to save money. So that was really nice, and we're very excited about her and her work. And lastly, I was able to sit on the financial audit. It was the meeting the end of year meeting from the auditors. It was like their audit exit meeting. So I sat in with that with Lynn and Grace. So, and if you have any questions when you go through my report and see some details, feel free to call me. I'm more than happy to meet with you or answer any questions.
Any questions for Shireen at all? I want to thank you, Shireen, and I hope you all read this full report fully.
Yeah.
She does so much around here, and she probably could have wrote 4 more pages too. But she does an awful lot around here, and thank God we have her. We made a great choice when we picked Shireen. So thank you, Shireen, for that. Committee reports and individual legislators reports. I know, Brian, you want to start off?
Yeah, we did a second round of the small business grant that started at 500,000. The window was for application were open from May 1st to June 12th. CETA helped us, and CETA screened and reviewed the applicants, and they did about 13 days from June 12th to the 26th. We ended up with 4 applicants for a total of 4 ineligible, but we ended up giving up about $74,000, $74,498. Where the money went, 4 applicants went to 4 people received from Auburn, 1 from Cato, 1 from Locke, 1 from Port Byron. To date, there's $127,000 left to be distributed, or we have to circle back into the ARPA fund. I have not got a chance to meet with legislator Leah to go over what our recommendation is. So we'll get together and we'll talk about it. We'll send an email out to the group for a recommendation to the process.
Great, thanks, Brian. I know you sponsored that resolution several months ago now, and it's worked out great. It was 2 rounds. You guys did a great job, and the other people around that committee did an outstanding job. I'm sure a lot of businesses in the community certainly benefited from it. So thank you very much. Lydia, thank you. Any other legislative reports, comments? Andy?
Can we know the businesses? Can you send it to us? Or
Shireen probably could.
can you,
They want to
is
know.
there any reason why you just can't say?
Well, I don't have it on.
Oh, okay.
Remember we had that question.
I think just to, Andy, I think what you might get in this, I don't know, last time they waited for them to accept the money and then they told us that, but I don't know if we're gonna.
We can look into that as well. I mean, once everybody's notified, and the information is received, we can look into, looking at what the protocol is and what we can do.
The reason being, this would be the first time they heard it. So,
Right.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we didn't get a chance to notify it.
We're in the process of notifying them.
Okay.
I would like to, before we end, Serene did an awesome job with Steve and we had a community members help out as well and see that put in a lot of legwork and legislative Lydia worked on this project as well. So a lot of time and effort been put in it, but Serene really helped us out a lot. That's very valuable.
Okay, anyone else at all? Okay, if not, I'll go right into my report and then we'll do the resolutions.
Yeah, Trish.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trish, I didn't see you. I'm sorry.
That's all right. I just wanted to thank you for sponsoring a box for the food drive for East Hill Medical Center and also to invite everybody. We're having a celebration as part of National Health Center Week in mid-August. We've got a lot of activities planned to recognize and honor our staff as well as our patients and community partners. So I'll be sending an invite specifically around that. I just wanted to thank you for doing that. And
You're very welcome. Do a lot for this community and appreciate it. Thank you. Jim.
So I don't know if now is a good time to bring up something about our public hearing on this taxation
Sure, if you want, anyone, sure.
So I received a number of calls from constituents and a town supervisor. And and I don't know if there's someone here that can answer the questions on that.
Chris, would you be able, well, depends on the question.
So some towns had previously passed a local law on pilot agreements versus not, and how will this affect that, the local law?
I don't believe it will affect the other municipalities. It just applies to the county. We're opting out. It won't affect our prior pilot agreements that were entered into before we have opted out. However, I am going to turn to Mr. Graham, who just loves solar pilots and all sorts of fun things, and ask him to comment.
I am
That's a
the
question.
ray of sunshine. Yeah, what Chris said is absolutely correct. I mean, this local law only applies to the county taxes. And what we're saying with this local law is that the exemption that is applied generally under 487 will not apply to Cayuga County. So for calculating Cayuga County taxes, the solar farms will be paying the full assessed value that were allowed under New York state law. The state has implemented this, very specific formula that has to be used. And basically, it doesn't matter whether you're in a pilot agreement or not. That's the boundaries of what you can charge. So it just doesn't make sense to have a pilot agreement. From our
and
I mean, towns may think differently, but that's up to them.
I think some towns might have already passed pilot agreements and so forth for their local towns, but they were curious if this would impact it. And I think I tried to explain to them that it was for county tax purposes.
Correct. And
they'll be sure listening to the YouTube video in the next day or two. So
right. And any pilot agreement that has been entered into, and if the county was a part of it, we still have to honor those agreements. And also, if there is a pilot agreement through the IDA, this local law has no effect on IDA transactions.
Okay.
And if I could just add one point to that, we have not altered the IDA's ability to continue to enter into pilot agreements with corresponding school districts or towns or villages, wherever it's located. They still have that ability. The IDA, county does not now, but the IDA still will, should it become necessary, we could refer the IDA.
Okay. The second question came from some residents regarding the impact on residential solar systems and some of the language that was in the local law, and trying to see how that is impacted, because it appears as, and I don't know if, and it's on from our,
She was on.
she might be able to help answer that, because I,
So,
go ahead, please. And
can I answer that?
absolutely, I would love your help, and I'd like the residents to be able to hear it on the video when they watch it later. So I messed it up, so I want to make sure it's clear.
So under any solar exemptions under RPTL 487, that we're opting out of that. So no one would be able to get an exemption that includes residential. However, there is an alternative exemption that would apply to just residential, that would include solar or wind projects. And that is called the conservation improvement exemption. So essentially, if they would qualify for a federal or a state tax credit or deduction, then they can also qualify for that exemption.
At the county level?
Yes, at any level.
So probably more so for residential.
That is specific to residential.
Okay. If there's any chance, and that will be distributed down to the assessors in each of the communities?
Correct. I will communicate that out in case the assessors are not aware of that exemption so that they do know that for residential, there is that option.
And would there be any way to link a small fax sheet or something to the Cayuga County Property Assessors page or something or section to kind of explain that in a couple of bullet points so that people looking things up might be able to see that?
Yeah, we could add that to our exemption portion of our page.
That
I'll get working on that.
That would be awesome. Thank you for that explanation. You guys probably did a much better job than I did at explaining that. But I received a number of calls, texts, and emails about this. So thank you.
Thanks, Jen, for helping us with that. Lydia.
One of the things that I noticed that term pilot program, isn't that a lovely sounding thing, pilot? Right? You think of, oh, it's a test ground for something, right? Some great things coming. Everybody that I asked had no idea what pilot meant. They thought it was, well, like a pilot program, a test program. Could one of you two say what pilot means, please? So, I'm good with Jennifer mentioning too. Payment in lieu of taxes was what one of our attorneys said. And Jennifer, you were going to say something?
I was going to say the exact same thing.
So is Rich. It's something that the attorneys just.
So if I were somebody who really doesn't know stuff like I am, does this mean that a piece of property then is not responsible for paying that normal share of taxes?
Here's, pilot agreements have been around for a long time in other contexts, okay? Anytime a property is, particularly with, best example would be an IDA property. In an IDA transaction, what typically happens is the IDA will buy the property and then lease it back to the developer. Now, the IDA is tax exempt. Has no obligation to pay taxes, but they can create a payment in lieu of tax agreement with the developer so that the developer will pay, by contract, will pay an amount that, I don't know if it is always equal to the tax assessment, but is an amount that they agree to pay in lieu of taxes. So it's a mechanism that's used to provide some payment to the municipalities in lieu of taxes when the property is otherwise tax exempt.
So that pilot money actually goes back into taxes and not to like the IDA?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It comes to each of the taxing jurisdictions, towns, schools, and counties.
Thank you very much. And may I ask another question?
Sure, absolutely.
Based
Go
on
ahead. Yep.
one of our constituents, and it was in writing because they were attending another very important planning board meeting, so wasn't able to attend this one, unfortunately. So there is question about, regardless of what the future brings with solar and wind, any opt-out scenarios would seem to benefit the provider first. Does that question make sense to anybody?
Not really.
No?
Can you repeat it?
Yes. I'm gonna see if I can put it into context, but I don't think I can. Whatever the future brings with solar and wind, right, the renewable energy. Any opt-out scenarios would seem to benefit the provider first. And by provider, I would say whoever the solar fields people are, for example. Does that question make sense?
So can I just ask the question so I understand? Are you saying if an individual or family opt out, the provider benefits from them opting out?
I would have to guess that that would be a good summation.
Rich, Chris, could either one of you or John?
If the question is by the county opting out of this exemption, is the developer of these solar farms benefit? The answer would be no, because they are going to pay whatever the law allows us to pay at the full assessed value.
And Rich, correct me if I'm wrong, but whatever agreement we could enter into before we opt out of this cannot have the solar energy seller pay more than what New York State would assess them for anyway. So the only thing that happen is the developer would pay less or equal to in a different manner. That's all.
Thank you.
Hope that helps.
Thanks for your help here too. Mark.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you all. All right, let me start off like I always do by thanking all the.
She just said to me that the phone number for people to call in on the public hearing is. Do we have another phone number that we could use?
Give me your cell phone number.
I can go get my cell phone number. It's hooked with my 8x8. We can use my phone number, my office phone number,
That would be
and it'll
Just let me know and I'll say it again.
1270.
Once you get the number.
253-1308.
308. If you could announce that a few
Yep,
times.
exactly. All right, let me just announce that. What was?
253-1308.
All right, let me do this again. Public hearing. Call to 315-253-1308 if you wish to speak regarding local law to opt out of the exemption from taxation for certain renewable energy systems under the real property tax law, section 487 for the county of Cayuga. Okay, it's good to know that that's not working.
I'm just gonna call.
All right, let me thank all the county employees, as I always start off with, and certainly the department heads and my fellow legislators for another month of hard work, and we really appreciate it. For the first time since I've been here, all the department head positions are filled, which is outstanding, because they were, a lot of them were empty, not a lot, but some were empty for a long period of time, and they've all been filled. And the last one was our grant manager, John Evans. I don't know if John's here tonight. But there he is, John. That was our last hire. John and I met for about an hour, I think last Friday. Outstanding young man. You'll get to know him, you get to like him. He's got a great personality. He's got some great ideas. So thanks, John. County office building update. We actually met this morning, the county building committee with Bergman again for probably 2 hours. Came up with a lot of great ideas, a lot of changes that were being made. Shereen and Gary will get that out to us as far as when Bergman sends that to them. But there was a lot of new things brought up at this meeting that we really didn't realize. So I'm respectfully asking the legislators that are on that building committee to try to, Zoom in or call in next time, because we really need your input, because you are part of that. And once we get the information, we can bring it back to the. Okay, I'm very happy to say all 4 contracts have been completed. The lieutenants is on the agenda for tonight to be approved, which I hope it will be. So that'll be the sheriff's lieutenants, CSEA, road patrol, and custody. So that'll be all 4 contracts in 1 year. And that's great. I appreciate it. The Micron update, our 4 subcommittees have been working hard. The full committee has been meeting every month. I think we're in a great position for our county when this truly happens in Onondaga County. So I want to thank everybody on that committee, on the subcommittees. There's dozens and dozens of people combined on those 4 committees and on the main committee. I want to thank the city, certainly Jenny Haynes and the city manager, Jeff Dygert, for helping us out with that and being on these committees and working hand in hand. I also want to thank Fred for working now with city council on the update for the county court or the city court renovation. It's not been easy, but it is moving along after years and years and years. I want to thank Fred for working on that. Also want to thank the county attorneys, and I did this last month, but hopefully someday here we'll be able to fill some attorneys with DSS and they won't be so busy. But Chris, you and your staff, all 4 of you, we thank you for handling.
We're having fun.
I'm sure you are. Yeah. For handling this and the DSS. report times. It's not easy, and we know you're putting a lot of time in, so thank you. I also want to thank everyone who's helping out with other departments that are lacking in staff. I know that finance has been lacking some people for a while. Lynn and Shereen have been helping Grace out a lot. So, and that's just one example. There's other departments, and certainly Diana's helped on that. So I want to thank everyone who's done that. I already gave my comments regarding Shereen. I don't know how I can say any more, but she will do a report every 2 months to the ledge. And it'll probably be just as much as this is. And there's more, but thanks again, Trina. Appreciate it. Okay, in closing, I hope you all have a great rest of the summer and healthy and your families and enjoy these next 3 90-degree days. I hope you got a swimming pool. Other than that, any questions from any of you for me? If not, we'll go right into resolutions. Hearing none, let's start off with Ways and Means, Hans.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ways and Means has 2 resolutions. I'd like to offer them as a bundle unless somebody wants to separate it.
Second. Did you get that?
Yep.
Mr. Chair? Okay.
I got a question on the first one is the one you're having the open.
Yeah, we're here.
Oh, yeah, we got to wait on that one. I apologize. We got to wait for that. Yep, for that to be closed. So just WM2. Can I have a motion on WM?
Second.
Any discussion, WM2? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. We'll come back to W1. Health and Human Services, Elaine's not here, as I said earlier. Heidi's vice chair, so she'll be in on this.
Thank you. Health and Human Services had 15 resolutions. All were passed at committee. HHS was amended at Ways and Means. And I can talk about that amendment if people have questions. I'm sorry, HH5.
Okay. Can I have a
HH5.
So I'll bundle 1 through 4 and 6 through 15. Make a motion.
Second.
discussion on those? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
And I'll move HH5 for discussion.
Second, Lucille.
Discussion on HH5. Mark?
Just a question, probably a simple answer. Does the social services, are some of the ones who are lacking the 3 employers? Yeah, understanding. And do you have any report on that?
I don't personally have a report on where they are at with hiring. Whether they even have interviews scheduled yet, Diane, or if Christina is here, they might.
Christina is on. So Christina, did you hear that question?
I did. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yep. So we did interview a candidate yesterday. And, we're hopeful she's going to be coming in to shadow to learn a little bit more about the work of the department because she doesn't have any experience with family court. So that is maybe a possibility. We're advertising widely. Have a couple other places that we're going to be advertising to see if we can get some interest that way. So that's where we are right now.
I understand there may be possibly another person that may be interested that hasn't made any commitment yet. Is that true?
Well, there's a local attorney that has expressed some interest, but I can't say for sure whether that would be something that is going to pan out. He hasn't applied yet, but there's been conversation.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Andy?
Basically, what we amended at Ways was to be able to look for other attorneys other than the county attorney office.
Correct.
So you know that.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? If not, all in favor of HH5?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Passed. Government Ops, Chris is not here, so Hans is the vice chair of Government Ops.
Bundled all.
I thought you did 1 through 4. Okay.
Hans, go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, Government Operations has 3 resolutions. Again, I'd like to offer them as a bundle, unless somebody objects.
I'll move it. A second.
Discussion. 1, 2, and 3. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Yes, thank you. Thanks, Hans. Planning, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Planning has 2 resolutions. I'll entertain a motion to bundle unless it's discussion.
Move it.
Lucille.
Second, Clarko.
Discussion on PO 1 and 2. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass. Thank you very much. Public Works, Sandy.
Quick Works, Mr. Chairman, you gotta get a little quicker, Christie. We had 10 resolutions. They've been through both committees and passed, so I'll offer them as a bundle unless somebody wants.
I'll move it, Calargo.
Second, Basile.
Any discussion on PW 1 through 10? Hearing none, all in favor? Anyone opposed? Thank you, Andy. Pass. Judicial Public Safety, Mark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judicial and Public Safety had a total of 8 resolutions for tonight. However, JP 5 was pulled at your request. So I would offer JP 1 through JP 4 and JP 6 through 8 as bundle unless somebody would like one separate.
Move it, Basile.
Lydia. Second, Lydia.
Look at them go.
Man.
Love it.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you, pass. Thanks, Mark. Okay, and JP 5 is pulled, back to the request of the sheriff, okay. Okay, Ledge, we have 5 of them. I'll do them individually.
I'd like to call caucus, please.
I'm sorry,
I'd like to call caucus.
okay, 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
10 minutes.
10 minutes, all right. Thank you, everyone. See you back in 10 minutes.
It's good.
Thanks, everyone. If anybody wants to talk off, you're feeling.
It's not here.
Nice a night out to be sitting in here.
Elaine, do you want me to sit? Elaine's not here. She's my favorite Democrat. You want me to sit in?
Sure, why not?
Oh, maybe not this one.
Okay,
Next one.
thank you.
Republicans want to meet for a couple minutes over in one.
Hi, how
Sure,
are
we got
you?
time.
How are you?
Yeah, we got a few minutes.
You?
a policy here with of a lot of tiered CDs that we've had for a number of years. And this is a policy, this one we're adding tonight was left off last year by accident. It's called New York Class. It's an investment fund that has a higher rate of return. For example, right now it's about 5%. And it's completely liquid. So I've been going around talking to our banks that we have relationships with locally, talking to them about how they're going to compete with this for the future. And 21 of our 23 towns are in this program right now. And it's been working very well for them. This is just another investment opportunity for us. We've been communicating with all of our local banks to try to get them up to speed, to use them as much as we possibly can. So it's a combination of if it's a 2 or 3 point difference, then obviously we have to look at that. But otherwise, we're trying to use our local people as much as possible. Right now, we have money in all of our local banks and CDs in most all of our local banks.
But who, I guess, for a second part of the question, which would be the legal part, I guess, why does this body not see that? I mean, I'm not trashing your office, but aren't we the ones who are controlling the taxpayers?
Yes, and that's the trick, is that, you know, you guys as the representatives of the constituents of the county have the decision to make, you know, what is in the best interest of the county. Once you've amassed a particular amount of fund balance, you know, where do you deposit that, and what rate of return is a factor. The other factor is how liquid you want to keep your local banks so that they can lend to starting businesses or, you know, home buyers, or that's the balancing act. And that's entirely up to you guys as the representatives of the constituency. You know, at this point, I'm looking at your investment policy. I see you've got authorization to invest 137 million. I don't believe we have anybody on the, oh, we do. We have Ms. Marinelli, or looking for
Right behind you.
Grace is right there.
Oh,
Or Dave.
We're gonna be able to find me up there.
I don't know if we have $137 million in total in the bank, counting court and trust funds.
No,
This investment policy, every year that we get audited and have to substantiate each of our investments and how much potentially we could put in there. All those numbers are not exactly how much we have in there. They're to let you know we could put up to that amount in there, and that satisfies the auditors at the end of the year.
Well, it's a requirement. I mean, I know it's a requirement under county law that the legislature designates the depositories and what maximum amount each depository can have. But right now, we've authorized with 5 or 6 or 7 different depositories, a total of 137 million. It's almost, it's more than what we have.
We've authorized those numbers, but that doesn't mean that's how much we have in each of those.
Well, I understand that.
Yeah.
It's the maximum amount.
Correct. At any one time, we could put into each of those accounts.
Up to the maximum.
Right.
Correct.
But I think what Councilman Andy is asking is this body, how do we determine that information in our investment policy? Is that correct, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I basically just think this body, kind of like the updates that Shireen's gonna give us every few months and stuff like that. I mean, I think since our constituents would like to know where their money's going, kind of hard for us to tell them when we don't even know, because we don't get any updates as to where the money is being deposited.
We've had quite a number of meetings, Dave and I and others, and Grace, and we communicate every day on that. And I'm happy to come to any of your meetings and share with you that on a weekly, monthly basis, whatever you want to do.
Well, that's what I mean, an email.
Sure.
Every month or
part of the report.
Because I'm all for eating as much as we can get for our taxpayers. But I also like the idea of keeping things local. But I mean, if we can get 2% on our money somewhere else, well, part of that is a little bit shame on the local banks then for not wanting to also participate in helping out the local community.
Well, that's exactly what we've been doing over a number of months now, is having conversations about that. is because in the past, we haven't had, we've been doing mostly CDs with local banks until these new investment opportunities came available. And they've just been presented to us in the last few months. And so with that in mind, I've been talking with Dave and Grace and Ways and Means about utilizing some of this new funds for a better interest rate. And to your point, that's the exact dance that we have to do, is we have to work with our local people to bring them up to speed, to get them to be able to utilize them. Otherwise, we're going to have to go to this fund that's mostly in New York State for a better interest rate for our constituents. So that's what we're trying to do. Obviously, our local people, we want to take care of as much as possible because they're lending money for trucks and tractors and all the things that we do here locally, part of the county. But at the same time, they have to have a better rate. And for example, using Cayuga Lake National as an example, this last meeting I had with them, they've created a new fund just for that reason, and they've raised up their rate because they realize that this New York class company that we're talking about here tonight has 21 of our 23 towns right now. So they realize if they don't bump up that rate, if they don't do something, they're going to lose all our business. So we've been in communication, heavy communication with each of them.
Yeah, I just want to say a few words about that. Dave brought this to me probably 4 or 5 months ago now, maybe. And we have had meetings with with Lynn and Grace. The first thing I said to Dave is we got to take care of our local banks. But then on the other side, we have to get the best interest we can for the county taxpayers' money. So that's a balancing act, and Dave has met with all the local banks. And I think they're seeing this. I think they're trying to help us out as much as they can to keep our business. So I think it'll work out. I think the local banks are very happy we're doing it this way. We're keeping them, all of them involved, and I think they appreciate that.
And lastly, this morning I met with Grace and we were identifying the amount of money that we can put into this fund to achieve as much interest rates as we can. Because obviously looking ahead here, we know we're going to have some issues at the end of the year with a foreclosure budget and some other things. You can always use more money at the end of the year. You got a lot of contracts to take care of. And whatever we can come up with here financially is just a huge winner for y'all.
Jim?
So in that report, Dave, when you give it to us, and if you have to give it to us in an email or something, so that this New York class, which was something we're adding, is 11% of the total. If we had that much money to invest, it would be good to know what percentage when we're doing with each local bank.
Sure, but you're using that 11% is what you're looking at
Yeah, I'm just using this as a guide. And if we did have 137 million, that would be 11% of it. So I'd like to kind of know what the numbers, let's say we've invested 100 million total.
Right.
What is percentages of that to this?
I just want to clarify with you that the 15 that we have down there is just what we could put in there. It's not what
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I totally get that.
Okay.
I'm looking for the real number.
Sure. And I'd be happy to provide that as soon as we accomplish looking at all the numbers and the rates and so on. For example, we're coming off a very odd situation over the last year or two because of COVID and so on. The banks last year, excuse me, a year ago, were paying 0.04% on money. And today, the highest one is a little over 5% that we have. So it's changed that much in a year. Well, obviously, I'm looking at it like there's a huge amount of money to be made as soon as we can put that in one of those other funds. That can mean hundreds of thousands of dollars to us here.
Yes.
So that's why I scrambled around to get this resolution tonight to push through tonight so we can start utilizing this one account to make that money, because we're down to 4 or 5 months here for the end of the year to get as much as we can while the interest rates are that high. So that's what we've been scrambling around trying to do.
Yeah. I agree. I don't know these other carry with them. I did look up New York classroom. I think they were at 4.97%.
Right.
At the end of the day.
But a
lot of money.
Andy is hitting the nail on the head here. That the most important thing here is that we want the best interest rates we can get, but we want to use local if we can. Because a lot of these banks, and it bothers me a little bit that the towns have already gone to New York class ahead of us because they are investing local monies for in their towns and so on, with utilizing the local banks. If we take a lot of the money out of the local banks, it really hurts them. So we want to make sure that we do all we can to give them an opportunity before we go to the higher rate. Obviously, a local bank in Union Springs or Cato can't compete with a Dreyfus fund that has $350 billion in it. But at least we can try to get them as close as we possibly can to get them some of our funds. So that's our priority.
And is this a recommendation of NISAC to go in this direction for all counties?
NISAC came in and their recommendation is yes to do that, but they want us to use their Dreyfus fund, which is not on the list yet, but hopefully we'll be on in next time we do the audit report for fall or in December.
Steve actually came in and had a meeting with us.
Steve Aquario from NISAC came in and endorsed that policy for us.
Everybody was really excited when Walmart was moving into town, right? Because we were gonna get everything imaginable and we were gonna get it dirt cheap. We didn't think about all of the small businesses that had to close up and leave. And then we also didn't think about how, once the small businesses were no longer there, Walmart was gonna be able to raise the price again, lower the quality, and we were kind of at their liberty. How are we protecting that from happening here? You know, how are we gonna keep small banks here? How are we going to make sure that we're not going to be at the liberty of just the larger New York State lenders and certificate holders?
So, I wanted to mention Lydia. I had a meeting with Lydia with New York Class, and she was helpful in bringing them in. That's the great question. I call it the Walmartization of America. You know, Walmart's a great store, but it put out thousands of little stores. And it's, in my opinion, it's really hurt the fabric of our communities. And so we're always cognizant, especially Dave from day one said that, you know, we want to take care of our local people. We have to bring them in and we have to do that. But what it's going to come down to ultimately is an interest rate. How much different? If we're working for our constituency and we're trying to get them the most interest to keep the taxes down as low as we can, we have to look at that number. And so we have to work with the local people to bring them up as much as we possibly can, to get as close as we possibly can and give them some money to do their work. So that's what we're doing on a daily basis, is working with them. I've had meetings with each of the banks and they're aware of that. They're putting together funds and they're more aware than we are. So.
Follow-up question. So does that mean that New York Class, who has, what did I hear, 4.97%?
It's a daily rate.
Does that mean that our small banks have to come to that level, or do they just need to get closer?
Well, that's a question for all of us that I hope to have, and we can all ponder in our committee meetings. But for example, they're 4.597 today, and we have a lot of money in a CD right now. There's a 2%. So how can we justify staying at 2% when we can make 2.5% for our constituency? That's a difficult question. If you're talking about 0.5%, we can go to the local people, I think. But that has to be decided, and that's something we should all consider and talk about in committee sometime or in this body.
That's a decision this body should be making.
Sorry?
So that's a decision that this body should be making.
Yes, and at some point when we get to that, I'll be happy to bring it in and show you the rates and say, make the decisions you want to make.
I think that's, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that updating this policy gives an option for us.
Correct.
To invest. So that's,
Correct.
we're not saying we're making big moves right now.
Correct.
But also, I'm not a member of Ways and Means, but of course, Ways and Means should be having this discussion and getting updates regularly. I don't know where we currently invest.
I had a meeting with them about it the other night, yes.
Yeah, so I mean, having this knowledge would really be helpful, but I understand the policy to open it up. Overall supportive, but I would tread carefully moving forward and just making sure that we are continuing to support our local.
Absolutely.
Lydia, did you still have a question?
No, that was it. Thank you.
All right, great. Any further discussion on LEDS 2?
Just one quick question. Does Ways and Means discuss that now, or there's no discussion at all with any?
I had a meeting the other night with Ways and Means about just bringing these guys on New York Class tonight to put through for this resolution to make them an option. And we had some discussion the other night, but this bigger discussion about the exact dollars and what I want to do with them, I'm happy to have a future meeting for both there and here.
I think my question is is it presented to Ways and Means, the interest, the value of staying local and versus the value of making more money with a bigger bank? Is that discussion being had?
It's in this preliminary stages. We've been discussing that for a number of months now about as we get into this policy. Because a lot of this has just happened most recently because of the huge difference in interest rates from last year to this year. In the previous few years, there were lower numbers and there weren't opportunities. Okay, especially during COVID in the 0.04% time. Now it's changed drastically in a year, so it's created the conversation. So we've been having it for a number of months now informally, and I'm happy to have it at all Ways and Means and at this meeting in the future.
Okay, good discussion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of Ledge 2?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Yes, thank you very much. Ledge 3, added on 7/24/23. Resolution urging New York State Legislature and Governor Kathy Hochul to draft and enact legislation regarding a voter's identification process.
Move it, Lydia.
Second, Mark.
Discussion.
A couple things. Actually, a few things, but let me start with one. It says this was added 7/24, but it wasn't on last night, like at 6 o'clock. So was it today? I didn't see it until today. So.
It was uploaded today or last night, and what I sent you guys last night, the only one that was added today was LEG 5.
Okay, all right, 'cause I didn't see this one until this today.
Okay.
And I'm just curious why this didn't go through government operations and be dealt with the Board of Elections. Why did it come right to this?
Yeah.
I mean, is there?
Mark, would you like to comment on that?
Well, I brought this to, this was given to me by the local town clerk. Back, I don't know, a couple, 2-3 weeks ago, I brought it to Amanda. I talked to Chris Marmo about it. And he said we could do this as a, if we use the term feel-good resolution. I, was given the blessing by Mr. Palermo. I brought it to the girls and asked to have it added to the ledge because it was going to be a ledge resolution and therefore it didn't come through government ops. And I don't remember the exact date. I brought it to you and I did call you to make sure that it was on yesterday. Because there was an amendment. Actually, it was sent out through our email.
Yeah, Fred had looked at it. And
And
let
there
me
was
know.
a change made late.
Yeah.
That's why it was decided to be a ledge resolution and not a government ops resolution.
So I see it's aimed at, so like widespread voter fraud. And I would like to know if the Board of Elections supports the statements here that we have the possibility of voter fraud in our county. Because I've never heard a report about that. So it's not sure if this is a necessary
I
resolution.
think I saw Mr. Camardo in the room earlier.
Yeah, right.
Is he here now?
He's gone, I believe.
Yeah.
So that I can't answer. I don't know. Mark, nothing was run by the Board of Elections.
No.
So I believe the answer to that is probably no. Unless Chris knows more.
No, I don't have any idea. I just want to clarify a couple of statements by Mr. Strong.
Oh, okay.
I don't give blessings at all. You guys every one of you is absolutely entitled to bring a resolution to the floor as long as it's in writing. That's it. That's the rules of order. Likely, that's what I mentioned. Nobody has to get my permission, or you guys just have the right to do that. I just wanted to correct that because
I misspoken on that.
that's okay. It's fine.
Anything further? Heidi?
Well, in the absence of representatives from the Board of Elections, I'd like to say that I know that there is a process for the notification of people who have moved. And when voters are deceased, counties receive notice. Counties are required to notify a previous county when people register here, or it's a standard process across the state. I feel there's no proof of widespread voter fraud in this county or in this country. And I think locally, our poll workers work very hard at checking signatures. I can give you two examples. They're anecdotal. One was a constituent and one was a family member where signatures changed. One was a family member through illness. That poll worker checked. The other was a constituent who came to me. He was a junior. Father's name, exact same name as the father, but with junior. The poll worker pulled up signature of the father, absolutely refused the son, the junior, to vote. That individual went to the Board of Elections, showed his ID that he was the junior, went back to his polling place to indicate, you pulled up my father, I'm the junior, and the signature matched. So they're very quite vigilant. I don't know why we want to spend any more kind of money for our citizens around this sort of nebulous voter identification process.
Thank you, Heidi. Andy?
So you just explained how identification works really well to identify a person. And I don't know what we're going to be spending. Okay, my father passed away 2 years, 4 days ago. And the other day he got his, for the second year in a row, lifetime hunting license in the mail. So how many, the mail out ballots are going out there to dead people? Because you just explained how.
Well, I'll tell you that my father.
I let you go. Hang on. So every one of us has to have an ID to get into this building. Those of you that are teachers have to have an ID to get into your school. What is the big deal about just showing a simple ID to vote? And then we don't have all this argument about what is fair, what is not. Is there voter fraud? Is there not? When you can just simply show an ID that obviously works, because you just explained how it worked. That person had to go beyond to prove who they were. They had to go to the Board of Elections where they could have just showed it on at the polling. I mean, have early voting for 30 days. I don't care, as long as you have to show an ID. I don't know what the big argument about this ID thing, because if you can 100% prove to me that no dead people voted, I guarantee I could kill a deer this fall, call my father's dad again, and they won't know for 5 years probably, because that's government. So.
Heidi?
We're talking about the Board of Election, and the Board of Elections does get the notice of decease, and they do desist in sending absentee ballots. My own father is an example of that. Never received an absentee ballot for my father at his home address, which was also my home address since the time he's been deceased. Again, an anecdotal situation. But I think that we don't even have Board of Election commissioners in this room and in this discussion about why the process is set up the way it is now and why they have trust in it.
Brian?
I think and I want to, thinking about how I want to say it because I wanted to come out clear. I think my problem is the way it's presented. So we have, I've been a legislator for almost 2 years now. And every time I pick up one of these sheets, some of these sheets I see discussion only. So whenever right now, we know that we can't change the law. We're here to make a statement. So when you put something against the federal government or the state, you're trying to make a statement that we don't agree as a body. In that case, we should have had a conversation. We should have brought in both Democrat and Republican board election directors, had a conversation as a body. And then they would decide unanimously what we want to do to make a statement. My opinion is this happens every time there's something that's nationally politically charged. And if we're gonna make a statement, we lose our power in making any statements. If we're gonna surprise somebody less than 24 hours after a walk on, something like this, that we're trying to make a statement that we're united on. Absolutely, I will tell you, and this is no direction, Mark, I got a lot of respect for you.
Yep.
But when you put this resolution together, you knew there was gonna be some people on the other side that may not agree with it. So why not have a discussion to make a statement? Because if Camardo came in here, and I don't know who our new commissioners for the Democrats are.
Keith Babin.
Keith Babin, right? I'm sorry, should have known, right? And Keith says, hey, Brian, it's voter fraud. Then we could possibly get together and make a decision. Or Camardo could have said the same thing. But if we're gonna spend more, even if it's $1, if we're gonna spend more money in another process, then we don't even know we even have a problem. We've been watching the new national news so much that we need to take a mirror and look at ourselves and say, do we even have this problem here? And if we do, let's talk about it. Let's not surprise people, legislators, at the last minute, the 9th hour. To me, this is not how you make a statement to the state. This is exactly what people do when they do voter fraud. They cause destruction. And this is what happens. You don't have a conversation, so we're gonna make a decision tonight. And it's gonna pass or not, and guess what? HOCO is gonna pass a law at the state level either way. So we don't make a statement. We just cause us to divide by not having a conversation prior.
Lydia.
I don't watch news.
You don't watch news, Lydia?
Intentionally.
Okay.
I turned on a news station and.
All right, Lydia.
And you can ask my family, they will attest to it.
I don't need to ask you for it, but it's hard to say you don't watch news.
So that's not why I'm playing here. My constituents see that wherever they go, they have to provide their identification. There's almost nothing you can do without showing proof of who you are. And the question is, why would I take such an important process like an election, choosing who is representing me every day when I'm busy going through my life, counting on all of you who we voted for to do the right thing? Why would I take a chance that there's a flaw in that process?
She directed it to me. I want to respond. Can I respond?
No, I'm not, no.
No, I'm just saying.
I'm not directing to you. I'm talking on behalf of my constituents, that they feel that this is one of the most important reasons to be given the burden of proof as to who's voting.
Right.
So I'm sorry, because I thought when you said why, I thought you were talking to me.
Oh, no, sorry.
All right.
Sorry, Brian.
You know what? I'm not gonna say there is or isn't, but you could be right. But guess what? If you're gonna make a statement, you should have consulted with all of us. This is not a legislation that we're passing. This is a statement. So you could have possibly, what I'm saying is, as a group, if you're gonna make a statement, let's have a conversation.
Just to be clear, I found out about this the same day.
I'm not saying it. I'm saying that this is not the first time this has happened. You guys have walked on with these resolutions that are nationally staged and they're talking points. But if you really wanted to make a statement to the state, you would try to talk to us and try to convince us. Because what you said is very compelling. But it's not how we do things. We are spending time and money. These people get paid. So we're making a statement right now. We're spending time, taxpayers' money, on a conversation we didn't have, we should have had. So regardless of what money, we're spending money today, this minute. The security guards in this building, and making a statement for something that we really don't change. So we should have had a conversation.
And no offense to Mark, this is like the first time this happened. It happens a lot, and it comes from that side. It doesn't come from this side. I say we should have a conversation. That's all I'm saying.
You've only been here 2 years. Trust me.
Well, you know what? I'm saying 2 years is too long. If it's one time, it's too many. But in the 2 years, this happens all the time. We should talk about it and then make a statement. And if we disagree, still walk it on and we'll vote on it. We won't spend 45 minutes going discussion back and forth. That's my only thing. It should have been talked about as a group. Because when I see discussion only intentionally, and then we don't have a discussion about something, I get a little skeptical.
Jim?
So I did hear three legislators use the word voter fraud. I didn't read that anywhere in here. I also found out about it via the recent posting. But it talks about the increase in public confidence in fair election process. And I only think that voter ID, based on what we go through today, it's already been said, cigarettes, beer, to open a bank account, we could go on and on about where you need your voter ID, where you need an ID to, and as Lydia stated and earlier, and although I agree with you, Brian, maybe we could have had discussion as a group. I don't disagree with adding voter ID to one more place I have to show my ID. I can't do anything.
I understand that, but what I disagree with is that this could have been handled differently. And these type of statements could have been, and we could have had both of our commissioners here to have a conversation. They could have told us, say, it's really not a big deal. Here's our process. Because I'm not sure at this point that your commissioner even agrees with you. I don't know. So if he was here and we ask him, say, what evidence you have of this, then we can have a conversation. I think it's just inappropriate to walk on and have a conversation. I'll show my license to get the vote. I don't care, right? So to me, but you know what? We also represent a whole body of people that whatever reason do or don't want to do it. Just like we always have people that say, Lydia said she was contacted by her constituents saying that they want this process. Well, we got consistency for whatever reason, they may not want it. I don't know why. It's not what I'm saying. We cannot operate like this. It's too much division. We should have a conversation about it and stop these walk-on shock things.
Andy.
I don't think it was really shock, but
well, it got on last night at 8 o'clock.
like I said, you've only been here 2 years, but it's happened the other way too.
I'm talking about 2 years I'm here.
Jim brings up a good point. I mean, you start right in with voter fraud, ID voter fraud. Nowhere's in the thing that it say anything about voter fraud. So why would we need our commissioners here in the first place? To testify, it sounds like. Testify for what? Just asking for a simple thing to, I mean, this has driven me nuts for years, whether it's here or anywhere, is how we'll call it sides. The two sides can argue about this. So I guess if somebody goes into the store to buy a 6-pack of beer and the person says, you need to give me your ID, they should just say, well, bullshit. No, I shouldn't have to because that's how I feel. Just give me the beer. That's almost like what you're saying is, well, your constituents don't want it. Our constituents do want it. Who cares? It's something that should be as simple as. I mean, I don't get the argument over this. So we should just cancel the stuff we're putting in downstairs. We don't need to check anybody anymore. You don't need IDs to go. This is asinine. I don't get the argument between the two sides in this country as to why simply showing an ID is such a destructive thing to try and make sure voting is safe and secure. I mean, I just
to say I don't care. Honestly, I don't care if you show your ID or not. I just don't like to walk.
Right. Wait to be recognized.
I can care less.
There's a lot of people who want to talk. Hans?
I move the question.
Is there a second?
Second. Didio.
All in favor of calling the question?
Aye.
Who's
Please show
opposed?
hands.
Yeah, show of hands, please. Okay, so that's done. Let's vote on,
Just to make sure, Clarko, you're not in favor of calling the question? Okay, great. Okay, thank you.
you got it?
Yep, just wanted to clarify.
Okay, all in favor of ledge 3?
Aye.
Any opposed? Can you raise your hands, please? Wait for Sheila and Amanda to get. Got it?
Mhm.
All right, that's passed.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but can we see the numbers of people that aren't here that would vote no on it? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you want to do a roll call vote? Just to see.
Yes, just because we're missing 2 people and I don't know where the weighted votes would come out with that. And the no shows are a no vote, so
Are
that's
they no
just.
shows or excused?
No,
Doesn't
they're no
matter.
vote.
You're not here, it's a no vote.
They're an automatic no vote. Okay, let's do a
I'm
roll
sorry, I don't
call.
mean to be difficult.
That's all right.
So
Do a
they
roll call.
automatically default to roll call vote?
Difficult.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Jim Basile,
I think so.
Yes.
Andy Dennison.
This is to call the question.
No,
Yes.
this is
No.
on the resolution.
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right. I
Yep.
apologize. Yep. Okay, go ahead.
Andy,
Yes.
Lydia Patty Ruffini,
Yes.
Chris Petrus is excused, Lee McDevitt Coleman.
No, and for clarification, this is about Cayuga County send a statement to the governor of New York State. So, so as a member of Cayuga County Legislature, I don't think we have these problems right now, unless I'm mistaken. In that case, I look forward to talking to the commissioners.
Bob Shay,
Yes.
Hans Petcher,
Yes.
Mark Strong,
Yes.
Heidi Nightingale.
No, and I'd also like to note my no vote is because I would like to hear from commissioners, and what I understand about our Board of Elections process and polling process is that there is no problem with the current signature process. But I would like assurance from those commissioners about that.
Okay, Elaine Daly is excused, Tricia Kerr.
No, because I haven't even had a chance to share my thoughts on it, and nothing is black and white. Anything that we do has a reaction and people will be impacted. I don't understand what that impact is, so I'm a no vote.
Christina Clarko,
No.
Michael Didio,
Yes.
Brian Muldrow.
No, only because I'm really, this resolution or this statement is not what I'm saying no to. I'm saying no to, if you're gonna make a statement to the state, we should have a discussion prior. This right here, I might have voted yes, but in this case, I'm voting no.
Dave Gould.
No, yes.
Pass.
Thank you for indulging me.
Yes.
You're right. That's certainly you're right. I think it was a good idea. All right, that's passed. Ledge 4, authorizing appointments to the various boards and agencies. This is one board, it's Traffic Safety Board. Brian is the one that suggested the names, so. Motion,
Move it.
second. Any discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Pass, thank you. Ledge 5, resolution authorizing a public hearing on Cayuga County application for Community Development Block Grant, Economic Development Funds, and setting the date and time for same. This is not setting a hearing, it's just setting a date.
Move it.
Yeah, move it.
Second, whoever. Discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Yes, thank you. Anything else to come before this?
Yes, WM1.
You gotta do WM1.
I got it written down here, just didn't read it, Andy.
Close the public hearing.
Okay, let's go to WM1. Adopting a local law.
Close the public hearing.
Oh. Yeah, I gotta close the public hearing. I'm sorry. I closed it at 7:21. Okay, now let's vote on WM1, adopting a local law out of the exemption from taxation for certain renewable energy systems under real property tax law, section 487 for Cayuga County. Can I have an motion?
Move it.
Second it, Mark.
Discussion. If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Pass, thank you. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Granted. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies. Appreciate it. So very, very much.